The sick are the greatest danger for the healthy. It is not from the strongest that harm comes to the strong, but from the weakest. Nietzsche believed that modernity would bring with it a leveling of mass man into one obedient, mindless, sickly herd with no creative energy or will. We already see this happening all around us. As mankind becomes increasingly integrated with the machinery of economy and state, he will become a mere cog in a giant clockwork. Man himself will become a machine, a worker drone in a vast superstructure which is beyond his comprehension. This mechanized mankind is the suffocating vision of the future, championed by those like Klaus Schwab, a future which Nietzsche predicted more than 100 years ago. We must face the stark reality of the situation. Most people will not make it. Most people will become the chattel of the state without resistance, even happily. They are easily manipulated by soulless politicians and leaders who use Enlightenment values to clothe their will to power in a veil of virtue. The preachers of equality, as Nietzsche called them. People are beginning to recognize the danger which the denaturing of man in civilization poses. The danger of a civilization which stifles and smothers life. The danger of a civilization which domesticates man. A civilization whose only inheritance is the total destruction of all which is worthwhile in man. Increasingly, we are living in a society in which the resentful and maladapted dominate our cultural and social spheres, and their morality is creating a hierarchy which punishes excellence, beauty, and striving. If this continues, our civilization will collapse. But even worse is the thought that a global order of this kind could be established which would stifle and smother the whole of humanity. This problem is compounded by our increasing poor health. Chemicals and plastics in our food, water, and clothing are disrupting our hormones. The cures which Big Pharma offers us often harm more than they heal. Our diets are toxic and low in vital nutrients. We live sedentary lifestyles, and the constant use of screens disrupts our natural hormonal cycles. This increase in poor health naturally leads to an increase in unhealthy and resentful psychology. When people are punished by nature due to their poor health, they turn against nature and develop anti-natural ideologies and fantasies about escaping the prison of biology for digital or fantasy worlds. Our problem is not moral impurity, as many on the right claim. It is a society composed of life-denying moral systems and hierarchies which smother, weaken, and deform life, which make man small, meek, and resentful against life and nature. Moral traditionalism cannot fix a degenerating culture, since the source of this degeneration is instinctual. What we call degeneration stems from the weakening of life due to a civilization which has failed to protect and strengthen it. All cultural revivals must begin in the body, for it is the source of life. Having the right ideology won't matter if our society is filled with sickly golems to whom life was constant suffering due to poor health. The body, vitality, health, beauty, these are the first principles of a flourishing culture. Nietzsche contrasted his vision of the last man, the domesticated and denatured man, with that of the Ubermensch, the man who has been made more terrible, more powerful, more fearsome, but therefore also more creative and more good. A man who has not stifled the life force within him or subverted the will of nature, but who has intensified it and made it more powerful and potent. In order to reverse the domestication of man, Nietzsche prescribed the reanimalization of man. But this does not mean returning to the beast. For Nietzsche, man is something which must be overcome. For Nietzsche, man is a rope stretched between beast and Superman. But to achieve the Superman, to overcome man, we have to reclaim the dynamism and union with the will of life which we had as beasts. We must disregard anything which makes us weaker, meeker, more tame, more domesticated, more timid and sterile. We must embrace what makes man hard, barbaric, and powerful, for these things elevate our creative powers and allow us to overcome ourselves. Man was once an animal, but now our powers are infinitely more abundant than that of any animal. So why could we not also overcome man? But we shrink from this task. It's easier to shrink from life than to embrace the war of creation. It is easier to believe that we are the pinnacle of evolution than to strive to overcome ourselves. The aim of civilization is to mitigate the state of mere survival, but the pressures of nature must be replaced by self-imposed pressures, or life in civilization degenerates to a state of mere existence, which is hostile to all forms of beauty and excellence. Our departure from nature is justified by our visionary power, which makes us like the gods. Human agricultural and industrial civilization is justified because the comfort and excess which it provides allows for the poetry of Homer, the sculptures of Michelangelo, the conquests of Napoleon. But when civilization no longer produces these beautiful fruits, we start to ask ourselves, what is the point? Is it not better to go back to the jungle? And when mankind no longer produces great individuals, we begin to ask ourselves, is there any reason for us existing? Would not it be better to go back to the beast? The aim of civilization should not be to make man more moral, to tame and denature the animal in man. The aim of civilization should be to allow the beast man, the superman, to be born, and to give him the conditions which he needs to flourish and to set his goals beyond man, to overcome man.